Oh, welcome back. Been doing some more research and preparation for painting the icon of Irenaeus, and I drew the sketch which we looked at a few episodes ago, and I scanned it and made some smaller versions of the sketch so that I could then experiment with shading and with different colours. So in this episode, first of all, I'll be deciding what tones, what contrast tones I want to use on this icon, to decide whether the outer garments are going to be lighter than the inner garments or around the other way. I've already decided that the pallium, the outside vestment with crosses on it, will be white, so that'll be the lightest tone. But will the chasuble, the next garment underneath that, be lighter or darker than what goes underneath? And then I'll decide on, well, basically the colour scheme. So here is my adventure with these sketches and how I decided what tones would work where and what colours would work where. Well, first of all, I'm using a 2H, so it's a fairly hard lead in the pencil that makes for a lighter tone, and covering the two garments, the undergarment and the chasuble. And now I'm using a 2B pencil, which is softer, therefore darker, on the undergarment. Now the same on the one next door. Again, the 2H pencil, scribble, scribble, scribble. And now the 2B on the outer garment, the chasuble. And oops, I'd forgotten to do the sleeve on that side. And I like the one on the right. I like the darker garment on the outside. Now I want to look at some colours. This method of testing colours I was shown by Olga Shalamova, one of my teachers. And so I've put a spot of egg tempera, or 7 spots of egg tempera, and then using a number 3 Kolinsky brush, I just dip into the raw dry pigment and then just brush it over the egg tempera. Then I wash the brush and dip it in the titanium white and do a little splotch on the right hand side of the schwatz. And that tells me what impact white titanium will have on the pigment that I'm using. So I've got some preview of how the titanium will affect the that particular pigment. And this is all happening in double speed to make things quicker. I don't write as fast as this, but it is neater writing than as usual for me. So just write down the name of the colour, even though I do know that, but it's a habit I should get. So that's kind of how it looks. And then put pigments into this little palette. I've started with the egg tempera. I normally don't, but for these small mixes, works okay. I've decided to use the cadmium red deep on the chasuble on the outer garment, also with a darker tone. I prefer cad red deep to the just ordinary cad red because it doesn't have as high a chroma. It's not as blingy. Well, as its name implies, it's deeper. It's actually got a bit of purple in it. Now for the undergarment, I'm using a dilute mix of ultramarine blue. And as was often the way, I had forgotten that bit of the red garment. Now, on the other example, I'm going to use a different colour. I'm just looking at those. This is orange oxide and yellow oxide that I'm trying out on the Bible, and the other garment that I'm not quite sure what it is. It's like a bit like a purse or something. But again, putting in the cadmium red deep. Now, in some countries, cadmium is not allowed to be used because it is very toxic. It's carcinogenic. So we're very careful with the cadmiums. And so there are other colours that can be used instead of cads. These for these bright reds. Naphthol is a good example. Now here for the undergarment, I'm using cerulean blue. So it's a softer blue and there's a green tinge to it. Then again using the yellow oxide on the Bible and the other adornment. So then we look at those two, and again I prefer the one on the right. The one with the cerulean blue is preferred. And does it pass the sepia test? They both pass the sepia test. So on my worksheet, that's what it looks like. Well, there you have it for this episode. I think that's enough research. I think I'm now ready to start work on the panel itself. The only other colour I haven't really thought about at this stage is the background colour. I'd like to use one of the colours to tint titanium white, and I did do a little swatch of this using the cerulean blue, and it came up with quite a pale, nice, what you might call a duck egg blue. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I look forward to presenting the next episode.